Team Obama is on the hunt for a new FBI director. Robert Mueller's 10-year term is coming to an end in September, and in an administration with a history of vetting problems, it may not be surprising that one of the candidates reportedly being considered is raising eyebrows. Now, she is former Deputy Attorney General Jamie Gorelick, who helped institute the infamous Wall of Separation. Now, that's the group of policies enacted in 1995 that prevented crucial information sharing between intelligence and law enforcement before 9/11. In fact, during his testimony before the 9/11 Commission, former Attorney General John Ashcroft actually argued that, quote, the single greatest structural cause for September 11th was the wall that segregated criminal investigators and intelligence agents. If that's not enough to make you believe that Gorelick should be America's top cop, her other qualifications to lead the FBI is that she was once a top executive at Fannie Mae. Now, during her time there, the company paid her $26 million. And here with reaction is the author of the New York Times #1 bestseller, Culture of Corruption. Michelle Malkin is back with us. Michelle, welcome back. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
All right, her? Tell me, with the history of vetting problems and their picking of extreme people, the person that set up this very wall that created a vulnerability is going to be the top cop in the country?
Well, in many ways, it makes perfect sense that an architect of failure, a Beltway fixture and crony, would be in the running and on the short list of an Obama administration slot. Yeah, it makes perfect sense because failure is the middle name of this administration. There is an old saying in the Beltway bureaucracy. It's this: screw up, move up. And when it comes to getting ahead after overseeing so many failures, Jamie Gorelick really wins a gold medal in that regard. And specifically with regard to her tenure in the Clinton administration as a Deputy Attorney General under Janet Reno's Department of Justice, what we had was somebody who was more interested in turf protection, covering backsides, and protecting political interests over American interests. That's what the Wall memo is all about, and it's very instructive as they consider her on the short list. For every Republican currently in office and in Washington and in a position of authority and responsibility to reread that entire memo, it's their words. They're the ones that use the words walled up, wall between counter-terrorism officials and those who were investigating on the criminal side. And just as John Ashcroft pointed out and the 9/11 Commission shed light on, it was this particular structure that did so much damage and hampered efforts to go after the likes of everyone from Mohammed Atta to Ramzi Yousef.
Well, let me go to the other side of this, too, which is if we look at the foundation of the economic slowdown and problems with the banks, financial institutions, we go right to the heart of Fannie and Freddie. And in spite of warnings by Republicans as we're coming, everything at Fannie and Freddie was fine. Franklin Raines is doing great. Jamie's doing great. She got $26 million. Others got close to $100 million. They got wealthy, and the country went broke, and we had to bail out the banks, the financial institutions. She got $26 million. Never been held responsible for her role in this. And now she, add this to, her list of incompetence. She's going to be the FBI director?
Yeah, that's right. And just to set the context, the period under which she was a vice chair at Fannie Mae was between 1997 and 2003. Not only was this the period where the subprime meltdown was being engineered, but this was also the period when everything was spilling out of every crevice about the Enron-style, surpassing Enron-style accounting scandals that were going on right underneath their noses. And it does bear repeating that she raked in this $26 million, the self-aggrandizement in the way that so many of these Clinton cronies helped themselves at the taxpayer trough at a time when this financial disaster was allowed to happen, was engineered and enabled by these people who were benefiting from it.
All right. On a personal note, if I may, Michelle, I know and I feel very bad for you and your family. You have a missing cousin, and there is a search attempt out there. You've been a great friend of this program, and we wanted to help spread the word a little bit. I know you set up a special website to help find your cousin. Do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sean. It's been very heart-wrenching for my family for the last 18 days. I have a cousin. She's 18 years old. Her name is Marizella Perez. She's a freshman at the University of Washington, and she has not been seen since Saturday, March 5th in the afternoon in the University District in Seattle. We have a website set up. We've got a volunteer army out there who's been helping us online and on the ground, trying to spread the word to find her, and we've been relentless, up all night for the last 18 days trying to find her. The website is findmarizella.com, and you'll find the missing persons flyer there, all the information about her, pictures, a donation page to help out the family. It's been an incredibly trying time for everyone, and it's a whole different ballgame when you're on the other side of these kind of stories. And I've used my website, Facebook, Twitter, the internet, have so many people praying out there trying to find her, and I want to thank you, Sean, for giving me a couple of minutes here to try and spread the word. I appreciate it very much.
You and her and your family are in our thoughts and prayers. And thanks very much, as always. Thank you, Michelle, for being with us.
Thanks, Sean.
And coming up next, his first time on Hannity, Larry King on the death of Hollywood legend Elizabeth Taylor. And Donald Trump mixed it up with the ladies of The View, and things got heated.
They make these birthers into the worst idiots. Why doesn't he show his birth certificate?
This is my palace, Caesar. All of it is therefore available to me at my will. I am not your prisoner. If anything, you are my guest.
Most kind.
And as for having my quarters, as you put it, made ready, my chief handmaiden has by now brought the others out of hiding. They should almost be finished.
I'm afraid it's impossible. We've had the doors under heavy guard.
There are doors and doors.
Now, that was a clip of the iconic movie Cleopatra, starring the one and only Elizabeth Taylor. Now, Taylor, a true Hollywood movie star, died today at the age of 79 from congestive heart failure at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. Now, she had been in the hospital for several weeks, and my next guest interviewed the legendary actress many, many times. And joining me, the man himself, the former host of Larry King Live. Larry, I mean this sincerely. It is an honor to have you on this program. We all in this business owe you a debt of gratitude. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sean, and welcome to my home. And every time I say Sean, I think of my wife, who is upstairs watching.
Well, I met your wife on a number of occasions, and I don't want to reveal the secret, but you know there are a lot of conservatives in your family, Larry.
I know, she's one of them. But hey, listen. Got to put up with everything.
You know, well, let me ask you first about Elizabeth Taylor. I know you interviewed her many, many times, and I know you were a close friend, and I know this is a deep personal loss for you. And I really, you know, from the bottom of my heart to her and her family and to you, you have my sincere condolences.
Thank you. She was very special, Sean. There was, in fact, it's kind of weird, but it's pouring rain here in Southern California. It's almost like the skies are weeping because she lived not far from where we're speaking. She was an extraordinary lady. She was a major film star at age 14 with National Velvet. She's been in the public consciousness for 65 years. And as you said, she was a true movie star. In fact, she's the last of the great movie stars. There's never been anyone quite like her, from the way she looked with those incredible eyes to the way her life went with pain and joy. She wrote her own chapter in a book that's hers.
Yeah, you've interviewed all of these great stars, Larry. What made her so special?
She was special because she didn't have a line cut between brain and mouth. That is, you asked her a question, she answered it. She was not fearful of what public opinion thought of her. She fought the battle for AIDS before Rock Hudson had AIDS. When people wouldn't, you know, there were Hollywood stars that wouldn't talk to her, wouldn't go to any of her rallies to try to raise money for AIDS because of fear of being associated with it. She stood up. She stood up for Michael Jackson in his worst days. It matters not whether you agreed with her or not. It was her ability to be so forceful for so many things, and loyalty, which to me is the #1 attribute anyone can have, was her #1 thing.
You know,
if she was your friend, Sean, she was your friend. You can't buy loyalty.
you know what? There are a lot of people that aren't loyal. I totally agree with you, and even if I disagree with them, that's fine. Let me ask you how you're doing. I watched a replay of your last show, Larry, and as I was watching it, I felt a sense of history, and almost for you, a sense of sadness and loss, because all of these years, all of these interviews, all of these key moments, how hard was that for you?
It was a very hard show to do. It was, they put together a wonderful show, and they had a lot of incredible people on. And as we talked before we went on the air, I think my little son, Ken, the youngest of my children,
this was great.
Broke up the evening with his imitation of me. I think one of the funniest moments in television. But it was a sad night. You do something for 25.5 years in one place at the same time. It was a tough show to do. You'll do it one day, Sean. You'll stand there and have to do your last show, and if it's a Democratic president, you'll be crying. It'll be fun to watch.
I'm crying now, Larry. I mean, forget about then. I'm crying now. Your son, I don't know what was funnier, though, the Bill Clinton being part of the Zipper Club, but I think your son did steal the night. I thought he was phenomenal. What do you miss the most?
Yeah, little Ken, he's a natural. What do I miss the most? I miss the most what's going on now. I miss the not being there in the middle of a scene when Japan is undergoing what it's undergoing, or we're discussing Libya or Egypt. You like to be in the hunt. But on the other hand, I have more time with my family. I'm one of the coaches of my son's Little League team. I spend more time here. I'm also involved in doing some other things, which I'm going to do a comedy tour starting in May. In fact, you're going to come and see me at Westbury.
I would honestly look forward to it. Let me ask you this, because we work, let's be honest, in a world where there are a lot of people that we may describe as maybe narcissistic or egotistical somewhat. In all the years that we competed together, and I've never viewed you as anything but somebody that I admired and I respected. You're a class act. There was never a negative word that I can recall between us. And, I think that's kind of rare today.
Yeah, I guess it is. I never believed in that. I always believed as an interviewer it was my role to be a conduit to the public. I never wanted anyone to fail. I like my business. If I like my business, if I love my broadcasting business, why would I want people not to do well? Yeah. I like to see people do well. It's a healthy, wonderful field to be in. And I'm proud of it, and I like people to do well in it. So I try not to think negatively. And that, by the way, was one of the wonderful things about Elizabeth Taylor. She was a very positive person, and that came through on the screen.
Yeah, it did. And you know what? You being a positive person and a positive force on both the political scene and interviewing every big star. You've had a profound impact on the broadcasting industry, Larry. You had a profound impact on the culture, on society, on political debate. And I hope we can spend more time together maybe in the future. We'd love to see you. I'm looking forward to coming to your show in Westbury. We appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thank you, Sean. Be well.
All right, appreciate it. Time now to check in with Greta Van Susteren for a sneak peek. That was a little bit of history. She's on the record tonight. Greta.
Well, Sean, I used to guest host for Larry, and that was quite a thrill, so it's really fun for me to see Larry. I love Larry. Larry's my friend. But anyway, that's an aside. Tonight we have Governor Sarah Palin, who's just back from India and Israel, and in fact she was in Israel yesterday, a terrible bombing today. So we have the very latest. We'll go to Steve Harrigan, find out what's going on in Libya. And there are all these problems with health care, and Virginia's taking on the health care, so Attorney General Cuccinelli is here to go on the record. So we have a lot in store tonight, so I don't think you should go home until after our show.
All right, where are you?
I'm in Florida. It's beautiful. But actually, we intercepted the governor. She's on her way back to Alaska.
I just got done saying to Larry that we never had a crossword with each other, but I really resent the living daylights out of you being in paradise. I think that's unfair. I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, I'm going back to rain tomorrow.
All right, let not your heart be troubled. Greta's in 18 minutes, and our great, great, great American panel. Straight ahead. And And tonight on our Great American panel, he's a Republican Texas congressman, author of the brand new book, Doctor in the House. Michael Burgess is here. He is in his 20th season of this wacky, insane Jerry Springer show, radio host, TV icon, the one and only Jerry Springer. I'm going to talk about you in a minute. And she's a former reporter, host on Fox Sports, currently the host of NBC's Poker After Dark, Mark Levin's favorite show. Leanne Tweeden is here. Good to see you all. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All right, Donald Trump. You know what I like about Donald Trump? Iconoclastic. He hits hard. He speaks his mind. When he took on Rosie, I was like, amen, hallelujah. He may be getting into this race. He was on The View today, and watch what he said.
I can't rely on some newspaper that they show that...
In order to become president of the United States, in order to
I
get
want
a
him to
driver's
show his
license,
birth certificate. I want him to show his birth certificate. There's something on that birth certificate that he doesn't like.
Oh, my God.
That's a terrible thing to say.
Whoopi, I'm telling you.
Whoopi,
I love you. I'm telling you.
I love you, too. I think that's the biggest pile of dog mess I've heard in ages.
The question is, why not show it, right? There's something on his birth certificate he doesn't want to show.
It's not because he's black.
Let him show has nothing to do with that.
Because I've never heard any white president ask to be shown the birth certificate. When you become a president of the United States of America, you know that he's American. I'm saying that's BS.
All right. Well, first of all, you know, even Chris Matthews said, where is it? Just get rid of this issue.
Right, exactly. I think you should just show it. If there is nothing to hide, why not? It would shut everybody up, and who would care? You know, I think Donald Trump, he's brilliant. He knows how to get publicity. He knows how to get on TV. He's promoting his show. You know what? He has nothing to lose. I mean, who knows how far he could go? He's going to Iowa next month.
No, the thing I like the most is his criticism of China. And the other thing, he supports a position that I've had for years. If we go save a country and we risk our lives, pay us for your liberation.
That's exactly right.
And he's right about that. All right, it's a pejorative with your side. They're birthers. Well, Chris Matthews, a fellow lib like you. He's asking, where's the birth certificate?
Yeah, well, we do an oath in the morning, you know. Both liberals in America call each other and say, how you doing?
Both. You own you have the White House and the Senate.
Yeah. Well, what we have is the country obviously is very liberal, and I'm thankful for that. We elect conservatives, but we're liberal. We are. We'll get into that another day. We all live liberally.
We don't.
We're liberal. Yes, you do. You vote conservative, you give conservative speeches, but your life is liberal. If you see a black and a white person walking down the street, holding hands, marrying each other or whatever, you're not offended by it. Your kids listen to the same music everyone else does.
They go to the same. Jerry, it was the Republicans that Lyndon Johnson needed to pass the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act because Al Gore's father and, let's see, Robert Byrd
Conservatives were not
support it. They filibustered it.
Conservatives were not leading the fight for civil rights.
Excuse me.
That is an absurdity. Conservatives were not leading.
Lyndon Johnson never passes it without Republicans.
I didn't say Democrats, Republicans. I said conservatives. Conservative Southerners didn't. Lyndon Johnson, in fact, said that when he passed the Civil Rights Act, the Democrats would lose the South in presidential races from then on, and in fact they did.
What about showing the birth certificate?
Yes. Republicans are emancipators. We're the party of Lincoln. I mean, that's a non-starter.
What do you think about think about this birth certificate issue? I mean, it has not been my main issue, but it kind of does get a little odd here after a while. Can't they just produce it and we move on?
Well, obviously, there's some value to the White House not producing it. I don't know what that could be. This easily could be ended, could have been ended a couple of years ago.
Jerry, that's a reasonable position. Is he right?
Well,
really?
No.
Do you have your birth certificate?
No, I finally, because I was born in England and it was during the war, and really I had to go through a whole process for my Social Security, because I'm on Medicare now. I had to finally
track it down,
but I found it.
Right?
I found it.
And you had to produce it, right?
I found it. But because I was born in England, I can't be president anyway.
Right. But he had to produce the material,
but you know what?
And now he has Medicare.
I understand why there's a resistance to it.
Why?
Because isn't this interesting? Of all our 43 presidents, of the 43 presidents...
Don't bring up race. Do not bring up race.
Do not bring
up race. It is a constitutional requirement.
Okay?
I understand, but why have not, of the 43 people we had as be president of the United States, never once
was an issue
were you asking, where's your birth certificate?
I'm sure he already
It was an issue for John McCain.
Because he lived in Indonesia as a kid. He talked about, you know, the prayer at sunset being one of the most beautiful things he's ever seen.
And?
So he grew up in a foreign country.
Right.
So some say, all right, you grew up in Hawaii. It's a constitutional requirement. Show us. What's the big deal?
What's the big deal?
I might do it. I would do it. but I'm not going to be angry at him because he doesn't. And you know
Isn't it
very
odd?
well. You
This
know
the whole
very
issue
well.
goes away.
This is an issue for all those people that would love to, that keep making fun. Well, his name is Hussein.
Has nothing to do with his name.
He
All
said,
the
I, Barack Hussein Obama. Yeah, we weren't allowed to say it until he said it.
Right. And
You
now he
lost
said,
your
well,
mind.
but
He
you
will have
know
to-
One of those
very
chairs
well
hit you during your
that
show.
it was brought
Instead of
up
throwing the football,
because
can I throw a chair at
you
him?
want to feed
All right, we
that
gotta
whole
go.
notion that he's not an
We
American.
have a
He'll have to
tradition.
produce
Leanne
it when he
throws us out.
files.
Wait. Watch this throw. Go ahead. Come on. Very good. And we continue now with our great American panel. All right, let's go. I mentioned the quote earlier, Barack Obama. He said it would be unconstitutional to go into Iran unilaterally if there wasn't a direct threat to the United States. Let's look at Joe Biden making a similar comment.
The president has no constitutional authority to take this nation to war against a country of 70 million people unless we're attacked or unless there is proof that we are about to be attacked. And if he does, I would move to impeach him.
So Joe should move to impeach Obama.
Yeah, I think he was wrong there, by the way. I think he's very smart, and I think Barack Obama should go to the Congress, should go to the American people and do that. But
Forget
clearly,
about that.
the
What a
Supreme
hypocrite.
Court has ruled.
Forget the arguments, because that's not the point. This is typical liberal partisanship. They excoriated George
partisanship. Please don't say liberal, as if conservatives and Republicans haven't changed their tune with Obama now going into Libya, when with the Iraq war, how are we going to pay for that?
George Bush got congressional authority, the authorization for the use of force for Afghanistan and Iraq.
And he got hammered for taking a humanitarian stance for that.
And now all
in
of a
addition
sudden,
to the
Barack
weapons of mass
Obama, who's
destruction.
doing something that's humanitarian in stopping the slaughter of that city.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Is that our criteria? Should we go after Mugabe? Should we go to Sudan? Should we go to China? But
it's not possible.
It's not possible.
Wait a second. Let me answer your question. Clearly, there's a moral argument for doing it. You can't always do it because sometimes it's not practical or possible to do it. We don't have the ability to do it.
We can't go into China and do it. Every other place.
Our mutual friend, John Rich, firing torpedoes of truth against a wall of lies.
Right.
This is a wall of liberal lies because they were so hypocritical. They so undermined George Bush in the war. And now they didn't get the congressional authority, and they're basically, most of them, silent.
No one's silent.
Hang on. Silent hypocrites.
A lot of silence. Oh, is it war? But it's not war. They can't even figure out if we're at war. We're dropping bombs. We're sending our planes in. One of them has already crashed. Thank God both pilots are alive. But this is something where he didn't go to Congress, ask them for permission, talk to the country. He just went in and did it. Now that I'm not saying that we shouldn't protect the people, because he was straight.
You are the same people that were saying, why is he taking so long to act? This president is so indecisive. These people are going to be slaughtered.
He's pulling out.
So finally, he does.
Too little, too late.
No, not.
After he bowed at the altar of the UN, Jerry.
What he did three things. He said, one, we're going in right now because this city is thousands of people about to be killed. Secondly, we're not going to stay there because we don't want to start another full-fledged war. We're going to hand it over to other countries. What is wrong with that?
Why does he care about Yemen? Why does
your
he care
husband's
about
in the military.
Yes.
We're going to hand over the authority to this study committee headed up by France. If we're going to do that, I say pull them out now.
Exactly.
That's what he's
right
doing.
Now. No,
he is.
No, he's not.
Saying
the troops will stay there. We'll still be there.
The UN said we should go in. The
how about the United States Congress needs to be involved in this discussion? Even Bill Clinton went to the American people before he went into Haiti.
They're saying, oh, by Saturday we'll pull out.
If we're going to be in for a long period of time.
Finish your thought.
The UN cannot even make the decision to take over of their own part of that.
That's a good point. All right, Congressman.
Well, you have to involve the United States Congress. And as I was saying, even Bill Clinton, before he went into Haiti, as ill-advised as that was, spent 10 days convincing the American people he had to do it.
All right,
he has 60 days. You know that, Congressman. He has 60 days to get
the sale with the American people.
He has to make it this week, and I think he will.
He should have made it last week.
All right, I assume
the place was burning.
That's all the time we have left. Greta with Governor Palin next. We'll see you tomorrow night.